Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this very special night here at Boston United, all in aid of Boston United Supporters Association. You're going to hear some great stories. Hopefully there'll be a few memories come flooding back tonight. There's lots of ex-players here, and we will be making 5 new entries into the Boston United Hall of Fame. Pat Everett, who's the chairman of Boston United Supporters Association, will have a chat with you in a moment, just tell you a little bit about exactly what BUSA does and the kind of things it gets up to and what your money is helping to tonight. But before we speak to him, let's introduce you to a right roll call of former players and staff who are with us for the special night this evening. First of all, the first manager under the David Newton era, Tommy Taylor. Evening to Tommy. Also with Tommy is his son, Lee Taylor, who of course was physio during that period. Lee Taylor. Take a seat anywhere you like, Tommy. Part of the Wembley 85 side, went on to be manager soon after. Ray O'Brien's with us tonight, everybody. Also, Ray Sisson, I think, is already in the room. Pete Moody is here as well. Give Pete a clap. Also joining us tonight, local lad, goalkeeper, who's also been part of the coaching staff here at Boston United, Martin Bunce. More than 100 appearances for the Pilgrims over 2 different spells. Darren Billy Monkson's with us. The scorer of Boston United's first hat-trick in the Football League, Lee Thompson's here. Also making almost 300 appearances for the Pilgrims and coming on as sub in the 85 Wembley final, Gary Mallander's with us. Also a winner who made more than 300 appearances for Boston in the mid to late 70s, Neil Caller is here. Someone who certainly is a legend as far as Boston United is concerned. 11-year spell, an incredible 572 appearances for Boston, and winner of 5 league titles during that time. Defender Billy Howell. Another favourite with the fans and a Pilgrims Conference winner, Peter Costello's here. He made more than 200 appearances for Boston, but started locally with Wimbledon Colts, midfielder Steve Appleby. Someone who just kept coming back time and time again, 4 different spells with the Pilgrims, striker Mickey Nuttall. Boston, both as a player and then as a manager, Jason Lee. And we'll hopefully catch up and have a chat with some of them as the evening goes on. Let's give you a bit more information about why we're here tonight and what you're doing in terms of raising funds for Boston United Supporters Association. Please welcome the chairman of BUSA, Pat Everett.
Evening all. I can't follow Scott's professionalism at all, so I won't try to. Thanks to everybody coming tonight, players, managers, fans, etc. Thanks to Chris, wherever he is, for running around and organising it tonight. I feel a bit guilty following that sort of Hall of Fame coming in. All I can say, I was captain of the Pilgrims Only Connect about a couple of years ago. That's my nearest to get to that. Somebody else watched it as well. Good. Right. So what does BUSA do? It raises money for basically the fans and the club in general. We do it by the 100 Club, the Golden Goal, the membership. Nights like this, we get the occasional requests in wills, etc. So everywhere we can, we raise money. What do we do with it? We run the buses and we do a lot else as well. The pitch covers that you've seen a couple of times come out this season, we contribute towards those and raise money towards those. The youth players who are in the first team, if we make it to the first team, we guarantee to get them kit, boots, everything else they need to get there. The groundsmen's uniforms and everything else, yeah? We always go through David first to see what he wants rather than go and buy something reckless, so we're quite pleased with that. Going forward, what else we're going to do? Pleased to know the Golden Goal and the 100 Club are going to expand next year. As the attendances have expanded, we're going to expand. We're going to double the Golden Goals. The 100 Club's going to be the 100 Plus Club going forward. And more nights like this. We're looking at doing a quiz night in Ellender's, if we're allowed to do it. Sure will, yeah, good, thank you. So look out for that one going forward. Finally, those that haven't joined up already, if you please want to join up, it's only a tenner, yeah. You want to suggest any activities we can do, and finally, we need some volunteers for the committee. Apart from young Callum, we're all sort of edging the wrong side of old age, so we need some youth, we need some more enthusiasm going forward. And with that, I'll hand you back to Scott. Thank you.
The chairman of Boston United Supporters Association, Pat Everett. He's mentioned it a couple of times. Let's hear from the chairman of Boston United as well, David Newton.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Chris said, "Is it okay if I put the night on?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." And now I'm stood up here having to say something. I knew I should have said no. As I say, welcome. Thanks to Chris for putting this on. Where are you, Chris? Yeah, you've copped out, stood at the bar. Great. I'm quite pleased actually because I found some people older than me tonight. Sorry guys, but it's nice to have you back, but he made me feel a bit young. Obviously tonight's all about John Blackwell. And hopefully we'll hear some good stories going forward. First person I saw in reception when he arrived was Tommy Taylor, which was great because it was an absolute whirlwind after we'd taken over. I think we took over with about 4 weeks to go before the season. I think we had about 2 players under contract. I don't know, is that right, Craig? 2 or 3 players, I think. No manager. So we quickly appointed Tommy. He played his ace card because we was interviewing him, then he said, "Pat's in the car." So we had to bring Pat in, we had to have a cup of tea, and then obviously Tommy got the job, and then we managed to get a squad assembled. I think we even played pre-season games, even though it was in such a short time frame, and then we finished 10th from memory, so that was a good start. I can't believe that we've got ex-managers here because obviously I sacked you at some point. Must have done it quite nicely. Oh dear. We've not had the best record on the pitch, but we have had 1 promotion, and we're obviously hanging in there for the playoffs this year with the hope for another one. So let's hope that happens. It's been a lot of difficult years. When we took over, almost immediately we went into recession. We took over 2007. 2008 we went into a 7-year recession, which made things very difficult. Obviously the club was in the CBA the first year. It was massively important we got out of that, and we managed to get out of that the first year. But the sods relegated us still. But anyway, we did manage to bounce back up again. It's been a bit of a roller coaster since then. Obviously, York Street was always an issue to us. A fantastic ground, and I absolutely loved being there, and I mean that. But we couldn't survive there. I can't read my writing. Yeah, absolutely loved being there, but we just couldn't stay there because we couldn't bring enough income in. Also, you know, it was made clear that the lease wasn't going to be renewed, so it was essential we moved to the new stadium. It was a difficult move for quite a lot of people, I know that. You know, I was very fond of the old ground, but it's been quite moving, really. I have to say that some of the older fans, and I mean older fans, 80, 90 years old, have come and found me and said how much they like the new ground and how it feels like home already for them. So that's something that we were aiming for, so I'm pleased we're able to achieve that. It was hard work building it. It was built through COVID, and costs have gone through the roof, but we've got 3/4 of it. Can't tell you when we're building the other, because at the minute we can't get any fixed costs on steel, concrete and things like that. As soon as we can, hopefully, if we've got enough money, we'll continue and build that end. We've got a few issues. Everything's gone pretty well. Concourses, we need to sort of probably improve the food offer, get it speeded up a little bit. We know all that, and we're working on that. We're going to get some new equipment in to try and address that. But when I look back, I was thinking about this afternoon about how difficult it was to get the thing built and finished. Because you tend to forget what you had to organise, because we had the bars, the kitchens, the systems, the tills, the menus, the phones offer in terms of tickets, match day tickets, season tickets, what offer we gave with the season tickets. We needed new staff, new uniforms, tables, chairs, everything, right from start to finish, all the kitchens. Then, of course, we had to do all our safety documents. I think we've got 19 files full of safety documents to get through our safety certificate. We had EPOS systems to put in for the bars, the Wi-Fi, the phones, the ticketing systems here and online, card machines, car parking, lack of it, hospitality, the boxes, the concourses, food and drink, CCTV, sound systems, turnstiles and fire alarms. And I just thinking, I wonder why I was tired. But we managed to do it, and we're open, and we're working. It's getting really busy in here, which is great. That's what we wanted. We're trying to build a sustainable future for the club. Match days are really busy in here. I know quite a few people have been in here on match days, and it's a good atmosphere. We get up to 190. I know that's too many, somebody just told me. But we do between 170 and 190 every match day in here now. We've got 40 in the boxes, so the kitchen are really busy, you know, doing about 240, 250 meals every match day. And then obviously we open in Islanders at night as well. So but it's all about making the club sustainable. It's also being used by loads of local businesses and the council. So during the day this is really busy. We get everything from council meetings to private meetings, training days. We even have a church meet here. They've met here tonight, and they're meeting every Sunday evening here. So we've got an absolute range of people, but it's all about generating income for the football club and making it sustainable as we move forward. Islanders has been great. We've built a good reputation there. The only issue we've had is staff, which most hospitality businesses have at the moment. But we managed to just pick up a new chef, so an extra chef rather. So that hopefully is going to go from strength to strength. Community Foundation obviously is a big part of the football club. And those that we've toured around tonight, we've seen the Community Foundation facilities that we have. We have about 30-35 students here every day. They're doing the football and the coaching side of it, but they're also doing BTEC courses. We're looking to expand that as we go forward. We're trying to make that hopefully to double that for next season if we can, or next college year. Probably get to 50, probably not 60. and then we're looking to expand it beyond under 19s, because we finish at under 19s education at the moment, and we're trying to move it to under 24s with degree courses as well. That will obviously allow the lads who are with us to stay with us and continue their education. I'm going to have a drink, I'll be back in a minute. But it will also allow us to build an under 23 side. Hopefully it'll allow the existing lads to stay with us and progress, but it'll also allow us to maybe bring some players in that have been released by other pro clubs, with a view to sort of bridging that gap between the youth team and the first team. We're trying to get that up and running for next September. It's a bit of a challenge at the moment, but that's our aim. If we don't, we'll certainly do it the year after. So bottom line, we've started in the new stadium at the beginning of this year. As I say, a massive amount of work went into it, but we've got some great staff, and Craig, and I told you shouldn't come tonight. Now we've got some great staff here who work really hard. They go way beyond what they needed to do, but they do it because it's Boston United Football Club, and it's something that we all love. And they go the extra mile and put the extra hours in and make it work. I must also say volunteers. We have a huge number of volunteers. We have match day volunteers. Dick and Glenn just done the tour. I would just obviously follow them around doing the stadium tour. I was assessor, like you get a referee's assessor, just checking what they were saying. And to be honest, they weren't too bad. They got through it okay. But no, we've got lots of volunteers here on match day working to help the club succeed. All through those times, ever present has been BUSA, which is obviously what we're here for tonight. We lost Glenn Chapman, unfortunately passed away not long ago. And obviously then there was a time of reflection on what would happen with BUSA, because he was BUSA chairman. But I was delighted when Pauline told me that her and Pat would continue. As has already been mentioned, Callum Bates, where are you, Cal? Yes, at the bar, yeah. So Callum's come on board. He's far too young to be on BUSA, with an average age of 65. Callum's been great. He's helped give it a new lease of life, because he does social media type stuff, that's online type stuff, that people do when they're young nowadays. But no, Callum's raised the profile of it. And we was talking earlier, and I think just recently they've attracted 100 new members, which is fantastic. And it's only the start. We want to work with them and build that over the next year or so. I think I've said enough. John, I have to say, I do keep your book by my bedside. But if I can't sleep, it's next to John McDermott's. And I used to say the same to him. No, it's a great read. No, it is. No, honestly it is. It's a fantastic history of the football club, and obviously a recollection of John's time at the club. I hope you have an interesting night, and I hope you enjoy it as well, John. So anyway, that's, sorry?
I said I'm not so sure.
You're not so sure. You will enjoy it, John. You will. All right. Okay, that's me finished. So just say thanks for organising this, and BUSA, Pat, where are you, Pat? Oh, there. Thanks for all your help, mate. Much appreciated. Particularly the away coach travel. At the minute, we have fantastic away support, and that's partly due to BUSA. Sorry, all the BUSA people here as well, to make it easy for the fans to travel away. And we took great support yesterday, and we do throughout the season. So thanks very much, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Boston United Chairman, David Newton. Just to let you know what's happening, so a little bit later on we will be, and they're in the room but they don't know it yet, there will be 5 new members of the Boston United Hall of Fame. BUSA have done this a few times now where they've inducted people in the Hall of Fame. So some people in here are going to get a bit of a surprise later because we're going to be revealing who they are. But as you know, it is an evening with John Blackwell, and here he is, the man himself. Give him a big round of applause. Don't look so nervous, John. Just pretend there's no one here. And it's just so let's go back to the beginning of your Boston United life. How did it all come about?
Through Jim Smith. I lived in Spilsby Road then. He moved into Boston when he became manager. He kept coming down the road and he kept putting his hand up, and he stopped one day and he said, "I believe you run a local side." I said, "Yeah, Real Hotel FC." And he said, "You got young players and that." He said, "I'm looking for young players to start a reserve side and things like that. I've asked people about you. You've got a good recommendation. Would you come and join us?"
And that was a big decision, wasn't it? Because you'd had great success with the local leagues, but it was a big opportunity as well.
Yeah, it was. Real Towel had won the Links Junior Cup, which no other Boston side had done for a long while. And I was working for my father in them days, not enjoying it. I wanted to be involved in football, and I decided, yeah, I'm going. And I went for a start to help run the reserves and the youth team with John Hall from Grimsby, and it went on further and further, and then Ray Middleton was secretary, the ex-England B goalkeeper, and he was took ill, and they know I'd done secretarial work at Towels, and they said, "Would you step in and do the job while he's off ill?" Well, it didn't take me long to leave my father's job, and I went into the football club full time, and then I was there quite a while till Ray got better. He came back one Tuesday after a bank holiday, and I was due to leave the following day and go back to work for my father, then help the football club part-time. And Ray went home down Willoughby Road, and he died in his car in his driveway. And Ernest Malkinson got hold of me straight away and said, "Will you come and take over secretarial work? Because we've no idea what to do, so would you come?" And I jumped at the chance.
So it was sort of a really sad situation that you came into the club.
Very sad, because he went home at 1 o'clock for his lunch, and he drove up his drive and then passed away in his car.
And when you had that conversation with your dad and said, "Dad, I know you like working for you, but I've decided to leave," what did he say?
He said, "You go."
You've been trying to get ready for a while then, basically.
I was fed up painting and,
Yeah, what were you doing for you though?
painting, helping with joinery on the building site.
So you're suddenly thrown in at the deep end, really. Obviously you've done the sort of local leagues secretary, but this was a step up.
Yeah, I'd been doing the local league for quite a while. I was on the committee of the Boston District League, and and it was just a step up. It was, from doing local football to a semi-professional side.
And how did you find it? Because obviously you were a real sportsman, because you played all sports, didn't you? You did the football as well.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that, or did you think, "Oh, this is a bit of a chore, all the paperwork," that kind of thing?
No, I really enjoyed it. It was a pleasure to be there, and it got better and better, the involvement and working with people like Jim Smith, Howard Wilkinson, people like that, it got better and better.
And in that time with Jim and Howard, which was at the sort of start of your reign, what was that like, and could you tell they were going to go on to be really big in the game?
Yes, very much, especially Howard. Howard was so good with everything. He was, became England manager later, didn't he? And he was so professional with what he did. We used to train in them days at the Grove Sports Centre in Newark, and he got everything mapped out before we got there, and you know, I used to go to every training session, and Jim was a bit different. Jim was a bit bull-headed, you know. He, often if we lost, he would probably throw a glass or a bottle across the dressing rooms and things like that. But there was both terrific to work with, and you know, you could tell they was going further and further in football.
And you always kept in touch with them as well?
Yeah, I do. I still speak to Howard. Of course, Jim passed away last year, but you know, there's a person here tonight, Billy Owls. You know, he was in that team, and yeah, keep in touch with everybody. I mean, one of the things when I took over as secretary, the club's not like it is now. You know, it's not so professional as it is now. But I learned from other secretaries as well that meet the public, be friendly with everybody, do what you can with everybody, you know, help them out, do what you can, and your job will get easier, and it did.
Yeah. Let's talk about your managers. You mentioned Jim Smith there, and you mentioned Howard Wilkes, obviously probably the most famous in your time. I'm just looking here, was it 26 managers you got through?
26 managers.
That's nearly as many as David Newton.
Yeah, during my time as secretary.
And obviously don't feel like you need to mention the ones that are in the room, but at that time, what were the ones that stood out for you? Obviously Jim and Howard, but who were the ones that stand out?
Well, I mean, they've all got different things they have. I mean, everybody I worked with was very good, you know, very helpful. It was hard work, you know. One or two managers made it hard work. But I'll tell you later.
I think we might get to one of them, yeah. It'll be a while. But I mean, it's a big relationship that you would have as secretary and a manager. It was, you know, you were sort of very much joined at the hip in some way.
Not only was I secretary, I was running the commercial activities as well, and we used to have a little office in front of the Glidodrome, Spain Place, 7 and 9 Spain Place, and in them days we was very, very big with little bingo tickets. We used to go all over Lincolnshire, Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire with these little 5p tickets, and then it got even bigger with the lottery, and you know, I used to do all that as well.
Well, the lottery obviously effectively built a lot of York Street, didn't it?
The lottery, when it finished, you know, it had paid for York Street, all the new buildings.
And in terms of the managers, presumably, how was it? Because you must have had rows, you must have had ups and downs with, well, obviously some more than others, as we're going to come to later, no doubt. But how was that relationship? Where because sometimes they presumably would ring up on a Friday night and say, I've got a player and I need them signing now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's different nowadays. I mean, Craig will tell you. Sometimes you had to go. There was no faxes and that in them days. No emails. So you had to go and do it yourself personally. You know, and you used to travel all over to sign the player. And then you had to come back, fill all the forms in, and then you had to do it by like a tele-message to get the forms to the FA and to the league.
What was the furthest you had to go to sign a player?
Well, there's a story here. We was going to sign, this is later on, we was going to sign a player, Mike Marsh, ex-Liverpool, and he was with Southport, he was. And the manager at that time, Steve Evans.
We've got it out of the way with mentioning him. We've taken the first Steve Evans mention.
He wouldn't trust anybody. And he said, I want Mike Marsh signing. I said, oh, I'll get it done. And there was faxes in them days. He said, no, you're not. We're not having it on the fax. You've got to go to Southport and sign him on with their secretary, and then come back to Boston. So I set off about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I had to drive all the way to Southport, which was about 4 hours. I met Ken Hardy, their secretary, and I was there 15 minutes in his office. And Mike Marsh had been before I got there and signed the form before I got there. Ken signed it. I had a ride round the front at Southport, everywhere was closed. And then I set back to come back to Boston another 4 or 5 hours when I could have done it on the fax in them days, but he wouldn't allow it.
But then when you got back, Steve Evans says, "Thank you, John, I really appreciate it."
Very rarely did he say thank you.
Looking at the highs and lows of that time, what are your highlights from the football point of view, the matches that you really remember particularly?
Wembley, 85. I can remember the semi-final against Altrincham. We went there, drew 0-0, came back to Boston the following week. It was 2-0 up at half time. They had somebody sent off. They came back to 2-2. I couldn't stand it any longer, I can be honest with you. I went walking around the car park and round where the social club is, and I run into the doctor, Dr. Taffinder. And he said, "What are you doing around here?" I said, "I can't stand it anymore." He said, "No, nor can I." And all of a sudden there was such a shout, and both of us running the side of the ground, and Bob Lee had just scored the winner. Well, from that night, it was unbelievable, the people who got in touch. There was rosette people, there was shirt people, people wanted to come next day, Sunday, and we had to have a meeting straight away on Sunday morning to start arranging it because everybody was at us. And then running up to there, to when we played at Wembley, I was working about 12 hours a day. I'd go in early in the morning and stop till 7 or 8 at night because it's no staff, hardly any staff, and there was so much to do.
And obviously when people think about success at football clubs and teams getting to Wembley and stuff like that, they think of the players and the managers and the people at the sort of forefront of it. But for you personally, to have come from Cowles like you did, the local leagues, I mean that must have been such a special moment for you to have sort of gone on that journey.
Very much. I mean, there was a lot to arrange and that, and we went down, we left here at lunchtime on the Friday, and the players all met at Boston at York Street, the wives all came to York Street, and we set off and everybody was along York Street over the Haven Bridge there cheering us as we went off, and we went down to a hotel near Barnet to stop overnight, and we trained at Arsenal's training ground, and then had a meal at night, and then we went down the next morning from the hotel, and the wives, they was on a bus that they stopped just outside the A1 where they was. We met them just to say hello, and we went, as you go down Wembley, it was unbelievable, all the Boston supporters, because Wilson hardly had any supporters, and it was such a wonderful occasion. And then when you walk onto the pitch, although we'd been on the pitch the day before, and then we had, while the players was getting ready, myself and 2 or 3 of the directors was invited into Wembley for a meal, and then we met the FA officials just before the kick-off, and they took us into a small room and they gave you a little book. And you had to do this, you weren't allowed to do this, you weren't allowed to do that, you couldn't go on the pitch. And it told you what you got to do during the day.
And for you, when you walked out at Wembley with the players, what was that like?
Unbelievable. I never thought I would go on Wembley. I'd been to different matches at Wembley, but I never thought I would be there with my team. It was such a wonderful occasion.
And obviously the result didn't go, but I mean, were you able to enjoy it, or were you just too? I was going to say one of your catchphrases. I'm too busy. Were you too busy, John?
Well, you watched the match, you did, but there was stuff to do afterwards, And then, funny enough, most clubs, when they go to Wembley for a cup final, they have a party afterwards in London, but we didn't. We decided to bring them back to Boston and we'd have the party in our own facilities at the social club. So we came back to Boston, and we went into the social club, and there was people in there already who had got invitations, and we had the party in the social club. But I did a daft thing there. I left my car outside the social club and left the key in, and when I wanted to go home, my car had gone. Anyway, we got the police in, and
I imagine that was an interesting conversation with the police.
Especially when you've had a few pints, you know. Anyway, they found my car. It was outside the New England Hotel. Bob Lee had took it. He'd seen the keys in it. He drove it up to the New England because he was stopping there the night.
So you had to explain that to the police as well.
Not only to the police, other people, the director, the wife.
But I mean, although they lost, they had a hero's welcome because there was the reception in the town, there was the open top bus and everything, wasn't there?
In the morning, we went on an open top bus from the ground over the Haven Bridge to the assembly rooms, where there was about 6,000 people, probably more, in the marketplace. I mean, if you see the photos, it's unbelievable. And then all the players went on the balcony, and the council had arranged a civic reception for everybody, for the players, staff, directors, and all the councillors. And it was tremendous.
And obviously, somebody else mentioned the other big moment was Hayes and the promotion to the conference room, because that was an incredible battle with Dagenham and Redbridge every week. And for you, again personally, you know, in milestones in your career, you got to be a Football League secretary.
Yeah, I mean, being secretary of Real Telltale FC and then having the honour to be secretary of a Football League club, it was marvellous. You know, 5 years in the Football League, mixing with, you know, Football League secretaries, Premier League, you know, Championship. It was really, it was hard work, but it was very interesting and enjoyable.
Yeah, and the Hayes Day especially was quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I can remember on the Friday we went down and stopped at Wickham, and we went next morning to the ground. It was unbelievable. I can remember we turned at the traffic lights and went down the main street in Hayes, and it was just a sea of black and amber. It was absolutely unbelievable. Everybody was down the street, and we pulled into the ground, and you know, it was the same there. It was tremendous.
And for you again personally, what are you thinking once you've been paid? Obviously you think, well, this is a great career moment, but then are you thinking, bloody hell, I've got a lot of work to do now?
Yeah, oh yeah, but I did enjoy it. I mean, I probably let things slip at home. You know,
would you agree with that, Maureen?
I spent all the time at the ground, and not just at the ground, at training, you know, different things, than what I did at home. I often get reminded about this from the girls.
And in terms of that period in the Football League, obviously it was fantastic for you because you got to sort of, I mean, it was an ambition presumably to be the secretary in the Football League, but as well as it being the best time, it was probably the worst time as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, but you know, we did well really. A little town like Boston in the Football League, playing big clubs, playing local derbies against Lincoln, Grimsby, Scunthorpe, Hull City. You know, it was very, very good. But we weren't big enough to stop there. You know, we didn't have the money and the finances like these other clubs. And in the end, we got relegated.
And in that time as well, obviously it was a real roller coaster in terms of let's get him in here, Steve Evans being the manager. And I think a lot of Boston fans are often sort of split over it in that they, you know, on the one hand can't praise him enough for what he did, but also sort of hated him on the other hand. And was that like your relationship as well? How was it for you?
Yeah, very much, 3 times the manager at that time had me in tears. You know, I could have packed the job up then because it was so hard and really a bully. But got through it in the end, and I carried on for a long while afterwards.
I suppose there's a lot of people all like in together, because a lot of people probably felt that. I mean, that might have been part of how he did, not that it was sort of ever acceptable, but everybody was sort of, he almost railed everybody against him to get results sometimes, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard work with him, you know. We used to train at Freeston in them days, but change at the Dabsey. So we had to go across town from the Dabsey to Freeston to train, then they had to come back. And one of the jobs I got as secretary, I had to get the dinners down to either Freeston or the Dabsey from different places. An Italian restaurant in West Street, a rolls shop in Penn Street, and
Was this all for Steve Evans?
yeah. Every player got the lunch every day.
I just wondered.
We used to, honestly, it was unbelievable. And Jason Hatfield, kitman, he used to come with me, and we were splashing a lot. There was Italian food in the back of my car, everything, tomatoes, lettuce and that all in the car. And
Well, you did have a reputation for your driving, John, to be fair. I've heard, you know, 1 or 2 people mention it over here.
yeah, probably.
But I mean, it was, as you say, it was a stressful time, but an enjoyable time because you got to do it. But that led to a really horrible period for the club where you must have thought, I haven't got a football club, have I got a job?
That's right. It was a time when the club was about to finish. Didn't look as though we was going to have a club in Boston anymore. And people was coming in doing diligence about the club, and there's a chap called Barry Pierpoint, who was a former chief executive of Leicester City in Portsmouth. He came in to look at the books and that for people who was thinking of buying it. And it looked as though within the next fortnight there wouldn't be a club in Boston. And I pleaded with the chief executive of them days, Jim Rodwell, if I could call a public meeting. And he said, no, we don't want it, you know. And I kept at him and at him. And surprisingly, in the end, he decided that I could do it. So together with Barry Pierpoint, I called this meeting for Father's Day in the York Street stand on a Sunday. And 800 people turned up, 800 supporters, absolutely brilliant. And I started the meeting off with a talk, and then Barry carried on. And the gentleman to my right, he was there. I shook hands with him in the car park. I always remember this. And about a month later, or probably a bit longer, Chestnut Holmes, you know, had saved the club. And it was very touching.
And for you as well, that period obviously went through the court case and everything, and you were cleared of any involvement in what happened. And for you and your family, leading up to that, not only the court case, but the business with when there was even going to be a job, you didn't get paid, I think, for something like 13 weeks at one point, did you? I mean, that must have took its toll on, not just that, because your family has sort of come with you on the job, even though they're not, I know Maureen did work for you, but the whole family really is affected too.
Yes, it was. I mean, Maureen worked in the office. Before Jim Rodwell and that took over or run the club, Mr. Burgess was chairman then, and my job also was to do the wages. And on a Friday, sometimes there was no money to do the wages, and it was a worrying time. We were running from one place to another, seeing if, you know, we could raise enough money to pay the wages on the Friday. And what I'm going to say now is hardly known by anybody, but my wife and her mother paid the wages 2 weeks to keep the club going.
I think you're on first name terms with the bailiffs, weren't you?
Every day they used to come. They took the trophies out of the boardroom. I had to plead with them not to take them. In the end, I persuaded them, not to take them. But there was coming daily. It was terrible.
What was your drive to do that?
What
was your drive to keep doing
I
it?
wanted to see Bosch United continue.
That's what kept you going, was it?
Yeah,
Did you ever think, I've had enough of this, I don't need to see it?
many times. But it was me, a hometown team. I was so involved with it. I wanted it to carry on. I didn't want it to.
And just before we leave that era, let's talk about Gazza, because that was just crackers, wasn't it? And I think you had to organise a press conference which turned into a bit of a farce, didn't it?
Yeah, it's funny enough. Radio Lincolnshire interviewed me the other week because Gazza was coming on television about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was a publicity stunt by the manager in them days, I'm sure. And I mean, he hardly played for us. I think 5 games, and he got 1 goal. He lived in the New England Hotel, but there was going to be a press conference at the Dabsey one lunchtime, and he was going to be there, and they was going to interview him. Anyway, I was with Craig, and we got a call to say Gazza's not going to do the press conference. He's poorly in the New England.
Poorly. Yeah. Is that an inverted commas?
Poorly. Anyway, it was Jim Rodwell who rung and said, we need somebody to go down to the Dabsey to do the press conference, or just to apologise. I said, well, you go, you're chief executive. And he said, no. He said, can you and Craig go? So Craig and I went. When we got there was TV vans everywhere. There was about 25, 30 people in the room. And we went onto the table, Craig and I had to apologise to the people and say, Gazza's been taken ill and he's not allowed to come. We apologise, you've all come a long way. And that went on. About 10 minutes later, I got another phone call from Jim Rodwell to say, where are you? I said, well, we're doing, what you should have done. And he said, well, we need you to do another favour. Gazza's got to get back to Newcastle. Could you come and pick him up and his dad from the New England and take them to Newark railway station to catch a train back to Newcastle? So I dropped Craig off, and I went to the New England, and there's Gazza laid out on a settee in the New England in the foyer, and he looked terrible, absolutely terrible. Anyway, his father got in the back of the car. We had to put the seat down in the front so he could lay in it because he was in so much pain. Drove to Newark. The train was about 2:10. I think we got there about 2. He couldn't walk onto the station. His dad and I had to carry him onto the train. I thought, well, I'll never see him again. He'll never come back here. 3 weeks later, he turned up.
And despite that bizarre beginning, and obviously it didn't last long, the Gazza situation, I mean, it was quite something going around, and actually the sort of stuff you had to deal with because of Gazza, with like people wanting stuff, and he was actually quite helpful in the community, wasn't he?
He was very, very helpful. He got a lot of mail. He got shirts, programmes, books for him to sign, and Maureen used to do that. She was like packing them up and sending them off for him, and he got more mail than what the football club did, and I think one day we got a sack full come, and he was very helpful in that. He'd love to do that. But another thing he did, he used to go down to the swimming baths, Moulder swimming baths, and some of the people who had had strokes or been ill or anything like that, he would help them. He would help them with their exercises and things like that. So he was good like that, he was, but his football career had finished, and he left Boston, and well, you know the story after that, really.
So from that crazy time, as you mentioned, with all the highs and a lot of lows towards the end, David and Neil come in, and then all of a sudden, although it was very traumatic because we had the double demotion because of what had happened with the various financial arrangements and everything, all of a sudden did you feel like you'd got your club back?
Yes. I mean, because just before David and Neil came in, we had John Sotnick has come in as chairman, and I can always remember he took over on like the Tuesday, and on the Wednesday he called for a meeting, and he wanted myself, Neil Thompson, who was manager, and Dave Pickett, who was chief executive. He wanted to meet us in the morning, and I think Dave Pickett went first, and he come out and he said, "I'm finished, they've got rid of me." And then Neil went in and he come out and they got rid of him. Then it was my turn.
You know the punchline.
So I thought, well, I'll be next then. And it wasn't like that because they didn't know what to do. And I was kept on because I was the only one really who knew the ins and outs of the club and what to do. So, but when Neil and David come in, it was very professional, and it's even more professional now.
And then over that period, you've gone and Boston have moved to a new stadium, and now since you've retired, how are you finding retirement now? Have you got used to it? Because it was a shock to start with, wasn't it?
More than a shock. Maureen was at work. I used to watch television all day. Loose women. And it was terrible. I didn't know what to do with myself. You know, I used to go down the ground, see the others, want the same. And then I met Barry Pierpoint again, who had done the beat for other people. And he said, "What are you doing with yourself?" I said, "I'm bored stiff." He said, "Well, I'm chairman of Boston Community Transport, which takes people to hospital, doctors, dentists, anything like that. Would you be interested in going and driving for us?" So I went to do that, and I'm still doing it.
And I think you've said in the book as well, you know, you're somebody who's not of the computer and mobile age, and you know, obviously you didn't really want to move on, and you were bored at the start, but it's a different era now.
Yes, I mean, I wasn't computerised. I can remember Dave Cusack, when he was manager, a rule come out that we had to have a mobile phone, and it was like a brick. You know,
Well, that's what yours is still like, isn't it?
now I'm better than that now. And, you know, it was so, you've got to be so professional now, and I couldn't do all that. David gave me the opportunity to go on a course and that for all this, but I decided that it was time to retire. I stopped on it probably 2 or 3 years more than I should have done, and happily I'm really, well, I'm involved still with the club, and I really enjoy it. I was there yesterday, and but it's all altered, you know. I mean, I speak to Craig regular, and he signs players on his phone, you know. He doesn't have to go and meet them like I did.
I didn't have Steve Evans to send him on a 4-hour journey.
No, but it's all changed, and them times have gone now. So.
And looking back over, what is it? It was 45 years ago, wasn't it? From those early days to the end of your time.
38.
38. So looking back at that, how do you reflect on it overall?
Really enjoyed it. Met a lot of nice people. Been honoured as well. I was the only person from Boston United who's ever been on the management committee of the conference. I was on 9 years. When we got relegated, I was put straight on as 5 years on the Northern Premier League management committee. Met lots of people. I miss it badly, but time goes on, doesn't it?
And if I'd have said to you when you were at Towels that you were going to go on and you're going to end up being a professional full-time secretary in the Football League, you were going to go to a Wembley final, you were going to go through all that, what would you have thought?
I'd never believed it, never. I mean, it's a big difference from Rialto Hotel FC to being in the Football League, isn't it? You know, so big difference.
And is there one thing from your time at Boston United that stands out as the one thing that you think, you know, that really was the moment for me, or it might have been a small thing that was special to you?
There's lots of things, really. I mean, this isn't much to do with football, but one of the things which I did, and I'm really pleased I did do, a lady came to see me one day. I might have a few tears now. Sandra Lovelace.
We're having a sweepstake on whether you're going to cry or not, so I don't know what time we've got to. Somebody's going to win some money. Go on.
Sandra Lovelace came to see me and said that her boy was mad on football. Could he come and work at the football club for half a day a week? And I said, yeah, you know, because we used to have inmates from North Sea Camp come and everything. So I said, yeah, he can come. Anyway, it was Jason, and he came. He couldn't even make a cup of tea when he came. And it got so that he was there half a day, then he got to 1 day, then he got to 2 days, and he finished it, well, he's 7 days a week. He's still here, and I feel proud that I've helped him, somebody who's got learning difficulties, and he's still involved with the football club.
I think he's in the pub again tonight. I think the Eagle.
I wanted him to come and he wouldn't come.
He told me last night in the Eagle he was going to the bingo at the Eagle, no offence, but he's probably heard the stories before, John. Let's end on a funny story to round up in this part of this evening. I want you to tell everybody about, this is in the book if you read the book, the time that the Boston United players and staff found out that you couldn't swim.
We played Kettering in the FA Cup, and we went overnight to Stamford, stopped at the George Hotel at Stamford, and we'd only playing at Kettering, 60 miles, but this was Howard Wilkinson and people like that who did the job properly. And we trained at the side of the hotel on the thing, and I was there with them, and they threw me in the river. I couldn't swim. Had to be rescued by the players.
And just one final point, because I meant to mention this earlier. You mentioned Jason and how that's been special to you. There's someone else who's been there every bit of the way for you as well, isn't there? And she's here tonight.
Maureen. I couldn't have done the job as secretary of the football club without Maureen, because not just because she worked there, but like in the early days, getting home at 3 and 4 in the morning when we was in the Eastern Professional Floodlight League, when we used to have to go into London and come out instead of going down the M25. And she stuck by me all the time. It's been a bit rough, but we've worked well together, and it's been a privilege to be part of the club, both of us.
Does she get to go on holidays with you now?
I've done holiday for years.
Nothing's changed really.
Now, David told me last week, he said, I think you ought to have a holiday. But, we might think about it when we've got promoted.
Well, John, thank you for being with us. It's been great. I think it says it all that maybe your highlight, considering you've worked with some of the biggest people, biggest names in football, is what happened with Jason. I mean, that sums it up, doesn't it, for you?
It does, yeah. I just want the club now to get promoted and get in the top league. David and I was talking about it yesterday after the match. There's some big clubs in that top league and we ought to be with them. And the town, the stadium and the people running it now, they deserve to be in that league or even higher.
Technically, you're still part of the club as president, so fingers crossed you can put on your CV now promotion to National League as president, because that'd be your first honour, wouldn't it, as president? So.
Let's just get there first.
Players are making it hard, aren't they? But let's hope so.
Trying hard.
Well, let's hope it happens. John, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, and it's got quite emotional, hasn't it? It's a bit like, you know, at the end of Still Back, where they used to bring the family on and all that. but it's been great to hear your stories, and thank you for sharing them with everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, John Blackwell. Give you a round of applause, John Blackwell. So hopefully you'll enjoy the chat with John. Still much more to come though. We're going to have a break for drinks now, about 15 minutes, so you can get your drinks and then come and re-enjoy your tables. And then we'll be revealing the first two of our Boston United Hall of Fame legends. That's coming up. So we will be drawing the raffle very soon, so get your tickets ready for that. But as well as having an evening with John Blackwell tonight, we're also going to induct 5 more people into the Boston United Hall of Fame. So if I can invite Pat Everett back up here, the chairman of BUSA A, he's going to do the presentations. Give Pat a clap. So this is a surprise to people in the room because they don't know this is going to happen. We've got lots of former players, lots of former staff. So let's name tonight's first person to go into the Boston United Hall of Fame. This was someone who was a winger for the Pilgrims between 1975 and 1981. Made more than 300 appearances, scored 26 goals. Being inducted into the Boston United Hall of Fame tonight is Neil Callery. Neil, let's just have a quick chat for you before you sit down. So you were mid-70s on, so would you be Howard Wilkinson then?
Yeah. Howard's fit, yeah. Sadly, Howard, yeah.
And then was it Gordon Bolland after that and Frank, was it?
Yeah.
What are your reflections of your time at Boston?
I really enjoyed it. It's a great club to play for. I played against Boston pre-season and played against Howard because he played on left wing and I played on right for Boston, and he never had a kick. I just took completely, and he wanted to sign me after a game, which I did do eventually. Yeah.
Good decision.
Yeah, well, very good. I think it's a nice place to play here, lovely.
And what's it like coming to the new ground?
Well, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's amazing. I mean, it's been like this when I played. It's been wonderful. Yeah, very good. Yes.
And of the players you played with, who are the ones that stood out as characters and for the performances?
Dave Adamson. Most of them, really good players. We had a good side. Yeah.
And it was a heck of a time that time for Boston, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Well, you are now in the Hall of Fame, which sounds good, doesn't it? How about that?
Right, I'm famous.
The first of our names going into the Boston United Hall of Fame, Neil Callery. So we've got 4 more to reveal tonight. The next player is a midfielder. He played between 79 and 85, and in 85 he came on as a substitute at Wembley in the trophy final. He made almost 300 appearances, scoring 24 goals. Going into the Boston United Hall of Fame tonight, Gary Malander. Gary, when I mentioned to Cookie that you scored 24 goals, he says he can't remember any of them.
I can. I didn't score that many. I made plenty for him. I can't remember scoring 24.
But in terms of your time at Boston, what were your sort of memories? What sticks out for you?
I had 6 great years, to be fair. Lovely people, lovely club. Nice to be back again.
Yeah.
Nice friendly faces.
Yeah. And so you would have been just after Neil, wouldn't you? So Neil was ending you.
Neil was still here, yeah. So I had 2 years with Neil now. So there'd be no excuse for Neil now putting it behind goal when he's crossing it out there. looking at that pitch.
Not bad pitch, is it?
Good that.
Yeah.
When you played at Boston, old ground and Frickley. Not bad at all that.
And in terms of the players that you played with and the ones that stand out for you?
Well, I played at side of Simo. We played midfield together, didn't we, Simo?
Yeah.
Probably the best player was Dave Adamson, to be fair. Yeah. And he probably took me under his wing because he was from Doncaster. I was from Barnsley, so we were all travelling together. They were careful. Jerry Stewart, Dave Pop, another good player, wasn't he? Dave Adamson and myself. Just used to meet up and just use one car to come down here.
And in terms of, obviously you didn't get to start at Wembley, but you did come on.
No.
Yeah, there's some sort of mixed emotions there.
To be fair, that's the best weekend we've ever had, isn't it? My wife will tell you that. Even after a wedding, isn't it? That was the best weekend.
Better than the wedding?
She knows that. we didn't get free drinks at wedding. That was great money to it. How Bob Lee drove that car, I don't know. Better man than me.
And you're in the Hall of Fame, which is pretty cool, isn't it?
Never expected that. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Well done. All the best. Gary Malander, ladies and Hall of Fame. Let's chat to some former players while we're here as well, before we just have the raffle and a few other bits. Where's Bunny? Is Bunny still around? Come here, Bunny, because Bunny now, and this would in the old days get a boo, but you don't have to, is now the manager of Boston Town. So we've moved on from that. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah,
Good. So new job for you?
yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, I think.
That's not very convinced.
Yeah, no, of course, really looking forward to it. Like, local club again. So, yeah.
You've been all over lately. I know you've been helping Fishtoft out, and you've been with Dennis Green again at Cranford. So now it's your job. You're in there, and you can get to do a bit of a job with Boston Town.
Yeah, I think that's why I've always been either assistant or coaching, and my passion is coaching. And I just thought if I don't have a guy management, will I ever regret it really? So obviously with it being on the doorstep, knowing a lot of people and being able to pull on the support of local people, I thought yeah, it's probably a good time to give it a go really.
And in terms of your time with Boston, obviously you had it all. You had the playing side, you had the sort of coaching set up as well. I mean, what stands out for you?
I think because, like I said, coaching's more my sort of side of things. I think developing some of the young players. I mean, going watching young Vino when he just signed forms at the club to play England C was really proud. Winning the league with them was obviously great, and the playoffs. Seeing so many local people and being a local person myself, like John says, you're so proud of them days. It's just a shame we couldn't get it across the line. But the playoff, the Crawley games obviously was a bit crazy, but enjoyable times, really.
I mean, the club has brought a lot of local lads through, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean the club obviously, Mr. Kerman does a great deal with the community, but yeah, I mean the amount of work I think that people don't see that goes on in the community, especially with the schools programmes. I was heavily involved at the club with them, from the tiny kickers, all the way through. You know, they do work with a great amount of children in the area, which is great.
Well, good luck at Boston Town. Hope it goes well, Bunny. All the best. Martin Bunce with us tonight. Also, we've got Peter Costello. Where's Peter? Oh, yeah. How are you? Right.
I'm very well, thank you. What's in it? I'm relief manager for Paddy Power in London.
Really?
I am.
Do you pull off all those stunts that they do?
Not yet. Hopefully I won't have to do that either.
I mean, my big memory of you is when we were standing at Hayes when you got the medal.
Here we
in your hand.
go. Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
go on. I thought you were going to say something else.
I wasn't going to mention that, mate.
Okay, go on then.
You want to? But even though what happened in the game, with it going off and everything, I remember you were just so chuffed to have that medal in your hand.
Yeah, I mean, I came here, I think Steve Evans had been here about a couple of months.
He's been mentioned a few times.
I did, yeah. I had a conversation with Trevor Quo. I'd just come back from playing in South Africa. He knew me from when I was at Posh. I didn't do very well there, so I don't know why he wanted to sign me. So spoke to Evans, came over. Obviously, it was just a start of things. So I just think I felt a part of it from the start, from when the club was on an upward spiral. Remember my first game at Kings Lynn, mud deep. That's when my hamstring started nuts. Where is he? From that moment forward. But I love my time at Boston. Again, when you said to me about the medal, I felt like a big part of it throughout the Dr. Martin days. We finished like mid-table. I think we were fourth from bottom when I joined. We won it the following year, overcoming Bath. They thought they'd won it. We overtook them. Then we mid-table in the conference first season. Then we went full time, which I loved. Thank God, I wasn't working as well. And then the battle with Dagenham, just unbelievable season. Some great characters in the dressing room. Paul Ellender's one here tonight. We had a lot of leaders in the dressing room. I think that's why we won it, to be honest with you. Maybe didn't play the greatest of football, lots of experience, but yeah, that medal meant a lot to me, a hell of a lot.
And what I was saying earlier to John about Steve Evans, was it that he sort of almost got you all fighting against him to get a result? Was that part of it, or why did it work? Because everybody hated him.
It's a real strange one because he got through a lot of players, didn't he? I was just speaking to Ellie up there as well, and Jason Lee, and when he got players in, he used to always speak to me on, so when I joined he knew I played league football. So because I'm a Halifax boy, Yorkshire lad, I don't know what it was, he tended to ask my opinion on stuff, and I just give him an honest answer. So he'd say to me, how did we do today? Was awful, even though we won 2-0. What do you mean it was awful? He didn't do this, I was just totally honest with him. So
it was you that won it, really?
Yeah, obviously. I always got on well with him with regards footballing side of things, because you could have a conversation with him after the game or midweek. On a match day, absolute lunatic. I remember him picking up bottles, throwing them at me, and I picked them up and threw it back. Just some of the stories, yeah. I remember away at Scarborough with about 3 games to go. I think we got beat, was awful that night, and I think Dagenham lost on the same night, or drew. And he had a right go at Darrell Clare after the game. And Darrell just picked up a big Gatorade full of juice and just flogged it across the dressing room. It went all over Evans. And he's just gone, you're never playing for the club again. And I just said to him, we need him, you can't let one incident affect. So when you say people didn't dislike it, to be honest with you, outside the match day, I think players got on well with him. From what I saw when I was there, I know obviously maybe not players, the Jordan things around, obviously it could be very blunt and very single-minded, but I know a lot of the players actually got on well with him outside the match day. That's how I find him. And to be honest with you, he was always honest with you, he was honest with players with regards, he'd say it to the face, there'd be no, oh, you did well, and then speak behind your back, so yeah.
And just before you go, now you work for Paddy Power, odds on Boston United playing in the National League next season?
No offers, we're going up.
I'll take that. Peter Costello, everybody. Is Ray O'Brien still here? Ray O'Brien still with us? No. Who else we got here? We got Billy Howells. Where's Billy? Billy, can you get to me, or can I go that far? I can come. Oh, I can go this far. Anyway, give him a clap. Let's bring Billy on. We're going to be drawing the raffle in just a moment, yeah. And we've also got 3 more people to name in the Hall of Fame here. Billy, give him a big round of applause as he comes over to the stage. Of course, Billy's record is quite something. Sorry to make you run a bit. Billy, you had 572 appearances for Boston over 11 years. You were the highest appearance holder, record holder, until Paul Bastock took that record off you.
I don't know Paul Bastock.
I think he knows you because he kept getting nearer and nearer the record. But 11 years you had with Boston. You got so many fond memories of that.
Oh yeah, because it was a group of players, and when they was all together, it was fine.
And it was, I think you were 5 title wins as well, according to, I'm telling you all the stats like you know.
Yeah, it could easily be, yeah.
And that's in the days where Boston would win the league but not go up, because it sort of all conspired against us, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah. It's a fabulous place, you know, but well, I find it not very good now.
Not like in your day, eh? But what's it, I mean, obviously you played at York Street and then saw York Street develop and how it changed into a big non-league ground. And you're here tonight at the new ground. What's that like for you?
Well, I don't know. I was going to make a mess of something, I know.
No. But very fond memories of your time here.
Yeah, it's
a special time. Billy, thank you for joining us. A real Boston United. That's all right. Good to see you. Thank you ever so much. Billy Howells, everybody. Also, we've still got Lee Thompson with us. Where's Tomo? Tomo's there. Was it area? We've lost him. No. Okay. Lee Thompson. Oh, there he is. He's hiding. Lee Thompson, everybody. Tomo, you were telling me earlier you're 40 now, but you're still playing.
Trying. Yeah, I was managing at Stocksbridge at the start of the season. I've just started playing for Stable again, helping John Froggatt out, obviously who'll play for Boston, just as a mate, and helping him out and getting a few goals here and there.
Still knocking them in at you?
It's exciting, isn't it?
And you've had a bit of managerial experience as well, and that's what you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been assistant manager at Stocksbridge for about 5.5 years. Manager got bullet. They asked me to step up. I stepped up for 5 games. Only lost 1, and then got rid of me anyway.
So obviously had somebody lined up.
Yeah, definitely. But I enjoyed it for what it was.
And you were in that period in the Football League days. You scored the first hat-trick in the Football League for Boston United, and special times for you that.
Yeah, obviously if anybody says to me, obviously playing for Sheffield United, but growing up as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, if anybody says, who do you support, it is Boston United, and that'll never change.
You know how to work the room, don't you?
Definitely.
Well, good luck with the managerial stuff. I hope it goes well. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Thompson. We'll be inducting 3 more players into the Hall of Fame very shortly. But I think we're going to, before we take another drinks break, let's just get the raffle done and dusted. So we got everybody with the raffle. Here we go. So get your tickets ready. Jan, I'm relying on you to know what we're doing here. Do we know what the prizes are?
We've got 2 prizes on offer. Both of them all signed by the players that have been gracious enough to come back and visit us tonight. So we've got a signed shirt up for grabs, which is your first prize, and then we've got a signed football. And can I just thank you, on behalf of BUSA, I'm the bus lady, so we do a raffle every week on the way back, and I think I've had a good day if we've collected between 50 to 60 pounds. We've collected over 400 tonight. Thank you.
Pat was saying earlier, a lot, perhaps unless you know about BUSA, you wouldn't know the stuff that you fund, and there's so much that, just stuff around the ground, stuff that will come from that money.
Well, again, things like when we were at York Street, I think it was where the programme sellers are. There's sort of like things like that, and as I say, it's whatever, we try and talk David into 1 or 2 things, but it can be a brick wall. But yeah.
It can be awkward, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that we started, again, is that when we started, some of why I got involved with BUSA was, again, almost that when we started following the club, I mean, again, tonight, being downstairs, it was a little embarrassing because these gentlemen kept coming in and you're saying, do you want me to ask them who? And as soon as you heard the name, you would feel, you knew, yes, I've read a lot about you, but not actually seen them in my times, because compared to some people here, I've only been supporting them for, about 25, 26, yeah, less than 30 years anyway. So it was lovely when the likes of Jason and Paul and Lee Thompson, I know them, and of course, yes, I remember, I mean, so, now I've lost my thread now.
It's all right. Should we do the draw, John?
No, I was going to say, but, and again, sort of thing, I started, that was interesting, it was because the club couldn't always put on a coach to away trips, and you'd booked on, but then come Friday afternoon you'd be told there's not enough interest, not enough people, so it's cancelled. So either you couldn't go, or you had to make your own way. So then that was one of the reasons why I got involved in BUSA, just generally to get sort of behind the club. And then some of the initiatives that we've got is that some seasons, again, and when people try to think of, how can we encourage new members, how can we get more people? So the biggest influence on what happens with the travel and other things is what happens out there. If the players are performing, if it's going well on the pitch, people are interested and they'll get behind them. Having said that, there is a very hard core that doesn't matter how well or not we're doing or what the weather's like or anything, we'll travel through thick and thin. So, and again, as you know, we're supposed to be like at the moment north, but north stretches far down to Gloucester, and then again we're almost in Scotland.
Well, hopefully next year we won't have to worry about that, because it can just be one league. Well, no, I wasn't. But hopefully you'll be winning your buses to the National League next year.
Hopefully, so maybe some stuff. And then again, some of it was, some of the initiatives that we do was that not all trips can we cover the cost. So things like the Golden Goal was something that was set up to be a little bit of a buffer, which fortunately in the main we do manage with other things that we do on the coach, like raffles, to cover it. So again, it comes in, as I say, when David says we've got any needs. I mean, sometimes it's been overnight trips in the past, it's something like that, something on a short-term thing, that they've needed some extra cash for the club, and BUSA have been able to come up and sort of deliver with. So the more like tonight's raffle that we've got in there, that's gone into the coffers, then again there is more things that we can do to sort of like help the club. And again, if need be, the things for the
Well,
fans.
you've got £400 more in. The prizes arrived. Cookie is not one of the prizes, I should just stress. He's just bonding them. So a night with Chris Cook. Mandy's asked for a refund for that. So what's the top prize, Sandra? The first prize? The shirt first. So this is signed by lots of the players from tonight. So let's see who's won that.
So for the man of the moment, can draw them out for us, please. So we've got 3 colours, everybody. We've got pink, blue. 3 colours, pink, blue and green. And the winning is on a blue ticket, and it's 321 to 325 on the blue.
Blue 321 to 325. We've got a winner. There you go. Congratulations, there you go. Excellent. Well done, our winner. And for the ball, which is here, again signed by lots of the people here tonight.
Green. We've got a green one. Thank you, John. So on the green we've gone, 461 to 465 on the green for the ball.
Green 461 to 465. Green 461 to 465. Somebody must have it.
No, nobody claiming.
Got last chance to claim us. Oh, we found it wrong. No, green. 461 to 465. This is how the raffle works. Anybody know we'll draw it again then, okay?
There's no premonition, so it's coming.
We're back to the blue. Sorry, you pinkies out there. Right. 641 to 645.
That's me.
It's psychic. 641. Well done. You are the recipients of the signed Boston United. Thank you very much. Some more than £400 raised for the Boston United Supporters Association. As you heard earlier, Pat said that'll go to good use. Right, we're going to have one last quick break, and then we will reveal the next 3 people to be inducted into the Boston United Hall of Fame. That's coming up next. Okay, we're going to get underway with the final part of the evening. In a moment, we're going to name our final 3 inductees to the Boston United Hall of Fame. If I could just bring back the lady, though, who won the signed shirt, because she's made a very nice offer. Come and join us. Give her a clap. So what's your name?
Cheryl.
Cheryl, just tell us what you want to do.
I'd like to auction it for BUSA.
Excellent.
I think there's people in this room who might want to buy it.
Excellent. Well, we will sort that out afterwards. Sort it out and we'll make sure BUSA do it. But thank you very much. Have a chat with some of the committee members. Lovely gesture. We're going to auction it off to make some more money for Boston United Supporters Association. Right, it's now time to reveal our next people who we're going to put in the Boston United Hall of Fame. First of all, can I get up from the BUSA committee, Mick, Sandra and Jan, who I think are going to do the honours with presenting these ones. Give them a round of applause. So, our next entry into the Boston United Hall of Fame is someone who kept coming back to the Pilgrims for quite a number of stints. Someone who was a big name in the game as well, a big signing for Boston. And someone who didn't just play for Boston United, but also ended up being the manager. Going into the Boston United Hall of Fame tonight is Jason Lee. Jace, how are you?
I'm surprised. No, it's not pizza. I don't eat pizza anyway. It's just the cheese. Listen, I'm honoured. I'm surprised. It's the first time I've been back to the new stadium. You know, I'm really, really impressed. I'm glad you guys got what you dreamed for. I'm going to watch the game tomorrow. Hopefully you get what you want as well, and the team finally get that final push. Fantastic memories playing for the club. Crazy times. I think a lot of players have alluded to the fact, you know, crazy manager. Won't mention the name, but crazy manager. I think you learn, you pick up things from different people. I didn't learn much from Steve, I'm not going to lie. Now, what I learned, I think what I did learn from him was to be forthright with people, to be honest. You know, I think as players, what you expect when you look somebody in the eye, you say that you're either going to do this, this and this, and you're going to be for me, or you're not for me. I think as a player, you can kind of take that on board, and and you can work harder, or you can actually appreciate that, okay, maybe I have to move on. But with Steve, I think he was good at blagging. He wasn't that sort of person. For me personally, he spoke a great game in terms of to bring me to the club. You know, if you remember, it was myself, Julian Joachim, and there was Noel Whelan who came in. And Noel Whelan, I used to have
some strike force, no?
3 former Premier League players. You know, get yourself down to the Dabsy, got a fantastic facility, state of the art. You know, he was blagging, all day was blagging. You know, I pulled up at the Dabsy, yeah, great, but then you've got to drive another 20 minutes across town. It was wacky races all the time. You know, the manager would be weaving in and out. Got banned, I believe he got banned, but continued driving.
I think he got more points on his licence than he did in a season, wasn't he?
Yeah, he didn't care. He was oblivious, he did what he wanted. But that was all part of the banter, you know. And then Paul Gascoigne was as well. I mean, what's going on?
You really couldn't make it up, could you?
You couldn't write it, but literally, you know, Gazza arrived, and Gazza was fragile, you know, and, you know, as John alluded to the fact earlier, it was a PR stunt. I felt really sorry for Gazza in terms of, you know, he just wasn't ready. He wasn't up to it physically to play the games. And I tried to protect him in some of the games. Literally, I physically tried to protect him where other players would be trying to take advantage of him. And you just think, you know, it's just not fair. But for the club, for the fans, I'm sure they enjoyed those times. It was league football. Julian Joachim, you know, I brought him back when I was managing as well. Tried to get some more out of him. His body was failing him, unfortunately. I think you've got to be quick to pull a hamstring, and he was extremely quick. So his hamstrings were just pinging every other second he would be injured. But, you know, bringing him back, coming back, getting the opportunity. You know, I never really had the opportunity to really say to, you know, to Dave and Neil and obviously Chris over there, that I really appreciate the opportunity. You know, I did spend best part of 10 years coaching, so I was ready. And you need a lot of luck, and you're hopeful. You know, you want to give people opportunities. I speak to Mickey, ask him about his son Jordan. I like to think when I was here, I gave young players an opportunity. I'd worked with young players, and you want to see them progress, and you want to see them have a go. You know, for myself to be still running out there playing at, I blame Chris. He kept saying, you can still do a job. 39 years of age, you know, 41 when I finished stop playing, and you want other players to take it on board and move the club forward. But really fantastic, really enjoyed my time here. Proud to have played for the club, proud to have managed the club, and this is the icing on the cake for me. So I wish you guys all the best in the future. I'll keep coming back to support you guys, and all the best. Thank you very much.
Top man, into the ball and playing for Boston United, Jason Lilly. Now, we've mentioned a few times some of the local players who have made their name for Boston United and come from the local levels and actually ended up playing for Boston United, and that very much is of the next person we're going to put in the Boston United Hall of Fame. Someone who made something like 250 odd appearances for the Pilgrims, a local lad, a lad who started his football at Witherton Colts and ended up playing for his hometown team. Going into the Boston United Hall of Fame next is Steve Appleby. Perhaps you thought you were just coming for a few beers with a few mates.
I was hoping so, yeah. Oh well. That's something else, that is, isn't it?
Bit of a shock.
Yeah. Never expect anything. Like I say, just where the new ground is and just down the road is where I was brought up and played, and you know, always. And it's quite special as well tonight because I've had a little chat with Billy Howes, who was the first person I'd say snap somebody in half, and I love that.
That wasn't really your style, was it?
Well, it's quite funny because another one, Neil Callery, was my hero. I was a right winger when I first started. He used to beat 5 or 6 players and do what he did. And then when I come to Boston, all these levels higher, I ended up being like Billy, trying to kill everybody. But
mean, they've got a decent record of bringing the local lads through over the years, haven't they?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, even more so now, what we've got in place. This is what you want. You want the fans want it. You know, it's. You know, I've been lucky enough to manage a few clubs afterwards, and all you want is the spine of local people. That's what the fans relate to. It's what the club's about, and more the merrier, really. And you know, obviously, I looked up to Cookie and people like that, and it's just, yeah, You want local people that's out there putting their heart and soul into it, you know. And for all me failings, if you like, I always gave 100%, whether I won, lost or draw. I'd never come off that pitch without giving everything, and I think people relate to that, and that's the very minimum, really. So yeah.
I mean, is it harder as a local player? Because obviously you live in the area, you go for a beer in the area, and obviously everyone wants to talk to you about Boston United, and sometimes that's great when it's going well. When it's bad, it's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. It's you know, I got divorced for it and things like that. I'd often see the ex walking along like 30 yards in front because we're talking to somebody who's big. But you got to stay humble. You got to be polite, and you got to be, you know, it's what we're about. You know, we're grounded people, local. You know, it's just you got to keep your values, haven't you? You know, the values and principles and what you are. You know, you can't get above your stations and things like that. And I see Ellie at the bar, and I still want to kick him because he used to play for Gainsborough. And I love the guy to bits, and he's done brilliant for Boston, but I still want to fucking kick him.
You mentioned being across the road at Wimbledon. I mean, if I'd have said to you when you were playing at Wimbledon all those years ago, many years on, you'd be across the road at a spanking new stadium for your hometown club, getting a Hall of Fame mention.
I don't know really what to say. It's a pretty liar. No, I don't know. It's just what dreams are made of, isn't it? I never played any higher than Boston. We did the conference and what have you and all that sort of thing. But it made my dream. I achieved what I could as far as, you know, I pushed as far as I could. Obviously, injury it curtailed it a little bit because I think you know, you can always think back about what if, but I think like the positives, and it's just fantastic. You know, I remember kicking a ball on the streets like we all used to. You say jumpers as goalposts and things like that, and you know, I still read teletext and things like that, so I know where John. I know where John. No, John packed up because he did. You know what I mean? But you know, there's things like that. You know, you got to remember where you're from and your achievements, and you know, things like that. And you know, it's just I'm gobsmacked, to be fair, but you know, I'm proud, obviously.
Well, I think lots of people think you're a worthy recipient. Into the Boston United Hall of Fame tonight, Steve Appleby. We have one more person to reveal tonight into our Boston United Hall of Fame. This is someone who really does fit the title of fans' favourite. You couldn't get a bigger fans' favourite than this. Someone who wore the captain's armband for Boston United. Someone who always showed passion. Always was someone that the fans really felt gave 100%. Somebody who made nearly 300 appearances for Boston United. The next person to go into the Boston United Hall of Fame tonight is Paul Ellender. Ellie, you've got a pub named after you, you've been to the Hall of Fame.
And you're even dressed like me as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I should have phoned you, I'm sorry. What does it mean to you?
Oh, honestly, I say about the bar, and you think that's brilliant, and then obviously I get this. It's something special, isn't it, and something to be proud of.
And it's your club really, isn't it, Boston United?
Oh, I absolutely love it. It annoys me a bit because I obviously live hour and 20, hour and a half away, and if I lived closer I'd be here every game. Do you know what I mean? So it's, I've spent near enough 8-9 years travelling here every single day, and it's a special place in my heart. I just used to love coming out. Some of the times we've had and Jason, changing rooms, and it was so enjoyable being under the Steve, and I know everyone slags him off, but honestly...
It's like a counselling session tonight. I feel like we're in Steve Evans' rehab.
Honestly, it was the funniest time in my life I've ever had under Steve. Mark Greaves started doing a diary of things that went on day after day after day. And I don't know if he kept it, but I'd love to see it.
I mean, you've always had a really great relationship with the fans as well. They really did love you, didn't they?
Not to start with, I think they hated me when I was at Scarborough. I think I used to get a lot of abuse and at games before. Yeah, I think all fans are that. They just want people to try hard, show a bit of passion and work hard, and that's once you're on the football pitch, that's a minimum you should do. So, and I think that's why a lot of fans like me, I think.
And in terms of what Apps was saying about you, do you want to say anything back?
No, not really. I thought he liked me as well.
Just goes to show, doesn't it? What is cooler, your Boston United career, or having a bar named after you? I mean, you must have been dining out on that. You must have been, okay, I've got a bar named after me.
I don't like to mention it. It was shut, wasn't it? When I came down, it was shut. It's brilliant. Honestly, I couldn't. When I started football, when I think it was 14, and now when it was different when I was young. I only started at that age, and then to go through my career, and then to have a bar named after me. Honestly, I'm at work and I'm on my phone all the time, and I'm at work, and then I'm on Twitter, so it keeps going through the day, and now I keep getting notifications, and it comes up in the Linders, and I'm thinking, wow. Every day, like
Linekers, Ellenders.
I know. It's something to massively, especially with my family as well, and my daughter and me and my son and things, and it's superb.
Well, feel free to buy everybody a pint in the latest it's short in it, some of the time maybe. Paul Ellender into the Boston United Hall of Fame. That is just about it from this evening, but before we go, somebody who's done a lot of work in putting this night on would like to say a few words. Please welcome Chris Cook.
This will be very, very short. I just want to say thank you to everybody for turning up, especially the ex-players that have travelled quite a few miles to be here. I really, really do appreciate it. I hope those that are staying overnight enjoy the game tomorrow and enjoy a win. But also, I'd also like to thank everybody that's paid to come through the door tonight to support BUSA, and let's try and get behind BUSA, who will help the club massively. And for 10 quid a year, it's nothing, is it? So. The girls are going to be out tonight trying to sell things to everybody, even the ex-players. I think they should sign up, it wouldn't hurt them, would it? But if you also want to buy a copy of John's book, that's also available in the KBS bar. Special offer tonight, it's normally $11.99, but it's a tenner to you. And last of all, I'd like to thank the bar staff. Brilliant, thank you very much appreciated. And finally, this man, Scott Don, BBC Radio Lincolnshire. Absolutely top man, I must admit, and he's a big boss of United fan, and he's obviously done this for nothing for us. Well, he knows that now anyway. But, he's very generous. I'm sure I'll buy him a pint and it'll cover it, but yeah. So once again, thank you all for coming. I do appreciate it very, very much. Thank you to David, thank you to Neil, and thank you to you all. Thank you very much.
Chris Cook, everybody. That that is it. I'm sure we're going to have more of these as we go forward. It's been a great night. Thank you for everybody for coming tonight. Thanks for everybody who's been involved behind the scenes putting it on. A lot of people do a lot of effort and people don't necessarily realise it, so thanks to all of those people. Have a safe journey home wherever you're going. Enjoy the match if you're coming tomorrow, and hopefully the next time we have one of these, it'll be against the backdrop of a National League stadium. Thanks to everybody for coming tonight, from everybody at Boston United Supporters Association.